Well, friends, I'm going to continue now with the sermon I prepared for this Sunday. I'm sorry we're not all in church getting to have this moment together, but and it references, I'll say it when I get there, but a baptism that was supposed to happen this morning and a parish meeting that was supposed to happen this morning, both of which will happen soon and very soon. But here goes. So in our gospel reading today that May read wonderfully for us. Thank you, May. A lot of strange words in there. Thank you. But in our gospel reading today, we find Jesus along the shore of the Sea of Galilee at the very beginning of his 3-year public ministry. Perhaps it's a familiar story to some of Jesus calling his first disciples from among a group of fishermen. He begins with 2 brothers, Peter and Andrew, and then approaches a second pair of brothers, James and John. We also hear in this story Jesus again, perhaps familiar words of invitation to these first disciples, and really to each of us. Follow me, and I will make you fish for people. And in honor of this fisher folk-oriented story, and as a fellow angler myself, I thought I would share one of my poems on the subject of fishing that I wrote some 9 years ago while on a fishing trip to Colorado, my last sabbatical. And the poem is called Spawning, like having babies, and it reads like this. Don't cast over there, my thoughtful friend gently suggests. But why? For I can see the big ones over there. Because they're making babies, is his reply. It's early summer and the cutthroats are spawning, securing their future at the places where the small waters become big. The miracle of life in my presence, a microcosm of our shared future. Will we give one another the peace to make babies? Or not? Or maybe, more simply, just future fish to be caught and enjoyed. But what evil is in me? Why is it so hard to keep from one cast in that direction just one more time? Why is the hunt, the catch, the picture, the victory, the big fish, the story I can tell, my own satisfaction and ego stroked by competence on the water, why is it so powerful, so uncontrollable, so utterly corrupted? I did not make the cast, probably most to avoid feeling ashamed before my friend than anything more noble. Maybe there is hope. Or maybe the end for us all has already been written on my own heart. Now, admittedly, that poem makes a sort of dark twist at the end. What I think I was trying to describe is that the line between good and evil doesn't run through states or cultures or tribes or even political parties, but right through each and every human heart. It's on the inside, in the unseen places of the head and heart, where we determine where we will choose who will be in and for the world. Will we follow the way of love to which Jesus both calls and leads us, or not? Or not, to instead choose self-interest, self-service, our own safety, our own protection, our own advancement, the adulation and praise that the ego indeed desires. And of course, this is a false choice. For as the far more gifted poet and priest than I, John Donne, reminds us, no person is an island unto themselves. Therefore, our own salvation, our hope for a life full of purpose and meaning, our ability to thrive and flourish, to spawn beauty and hope is all tied up in each other. Love is what makes the world go round. Love is what sets our hearts on fire. Love is what makes meaning in the midst of the world's madness. And love is by definition shared. Something given and received between people. Though we should indeed love ourselves well, practice much self-compassion and positive self-talk, I believe we do so to a particular end. To have within us the power and possibility to love others, to love all well, most especially those suffering at the hands of a rampant self-interest in our world that seeks to diminish and destroy. To continually crucify love on the crosses that are continually erected, in the very places, on the very streets where we live, move, and have our being. And despite the fact that the choice to choose self is ultimately to choose isolation, fear, and the self's own destruction, to instead choose the good, to choose to follow Jesus in his way of love, is simply said often a hard choice. For real risk is involved. When we open our hearts to others, their suffering often becomes our own, and our hearts can and will be broken. When we open our hearts to others, their suffering often asks us to stand up and speak up on their behalf, which can strain relationships, can distance and cause deep disagreement, even make us feel and at times actually be unsafe. But the way of love to which Jesus calls and leads, that he incarnates, is resurrection and life. The very salvation of the world and all who it contains. But the very good news is that we're not alone in this spiritual work of discernment. This deeply spiritual work of choosing, much like Jesus' first disciples, choosing to follow Jesus in his way of love. Now, my best guess is that if Jesus had approached these two pairs of siblings, Peter and Andrew, and then James and John, individually rather than in pairs, that the result would have been the same. That is, they each would have made the personal choice to lay down their nets and follow Jesus. But still, I wonder if there might have been divine wisdom in approaching these people in pairs. For I wonder if there might have been a moment when brother looked to brother, exchanging the thought, whether spoken or not. If you go, I will go. Where you go, I will go. If you lay down your nets and follow, I will follow along your side, wherever this path, this way of love Jesus has set before us might lead. And when you falter and fall, when you want to turn back and return to your nets, when that feels like an easier and safer life, I will help pick you back up. I will help you take the very next step in a good and godly direction. I will help you renounce the evil and choose the good. And I know you will do the very same for me. Friends, there is strength in numbers. We are each other's keepers and encouragers. Together, only together, always together, we can and will find our way through this present darkness. We can and will find the courage to stand up and speak up when it's hard and uncomfortable. And always with the light of God's love beckoning us on, providing illumination and hope that the darkness of sin and death can never, not ever overcome. For the way that Jesus leads is resurrection and life. And I think this is what we do for one another at each and every baptism. Which, like those first disciples, laying down their nets to follow Jesus is a beginning. The beginning of a whole new life of following Jesus in his way of love. We were to have a baptism today, as I noted, but the weather derailed. But very soon we will, in a sense, say to Owen Pascal, the child to be baptized, we will go with you into the future that Jesus has set before you in each of us. We will walk with you as you grow more and more into the person God's created you to be. We will help you find your footing when the world causes you to stumble. You are never alone on this wondrous adventure, for we do the life of faith always together. And Jesus is always there leading the way. And I think this is, in a sense, what we do at our parish meeting, which was also to happen today, but now in 2 weeks. At the annual parish meeting each year, we recommit to walk together into the life God has set before us. To become more and more the people and place that God has created us to be, to pick each other up when we fall, to share in each other's struggles, to listen to each other and pray for each other and care for each other. The way of love that Jesus bids us to follow is risky and sometimes really hard. And indeed often requires much of us. But it's the only way. And we are in it together with Jesus and one another. Despite the dark tone in my poem's ending, I don't really believe the end is already written on our own hearts. Instead, I believe we will make peaceful places for life in all of its fullness to spawn and flourish. That we are always becoming more and more who God created us to be. For we have friends, like mine in the poem. We have each other to remind us of who we really are and to whom we really belong. For we are breathtakingly beautiful, capable of choosing so much good, and created in the very image of love. And we belong to God, who is love, and to each other. We have friends. We have each other who go where we go. Friends who help us find our footing when the world causes us to stumble. Friends who help us see the lighted path along the way of love, the power and possibility to choose good over evil. For the end for each and for all has already been written, but on the walls of an empty tomb. And those words read, resurrection and a life. Discovered together. Never alone. Always